In a quiet town in Ohio, there lived an old man named Daniel Carter. Daniel had spent his entire life working hard. For 40 years, he worked as a carpenter, building homes, repairing broken furniture, and helping neighbors without ever asking for anything in return. He and his wife Margaret lived in a small white house at the end of Maple Street. The house wasn't fancy, but it was filled with memories. Every wall had a story. Every chair had been made by Daniel's hands. For Daniel, the greatest joy of his life was his son, Michael. When Michael was born, Daniel held him in his arms and promised himself that his son would never struggle the way he did growing up. Daniel worked overtime, skipped meals sometimes, and saved every dollar he could so Michael could study in a good school. Margaret often told him, "Daniel, you should rest sometimes." But Daniel would smile and say, "I'm building a future for our son." Years passed. Michael grew up, went to college, and eventually moved to a big city for work. Daniel and Margaret were proud of him. They would often sit on their porch in the evening, talking about their son's success, but slowly, things began to change. At first, Michael called every week, then every month, then sometimes only on holidays. Daniel never complained. Whenever Margaret felt sad, he would gently say, "He must be busy. Life in the city is different." One winter evening, Michael finally visited after almost 2 years. Daniel was so happy that he spent the whole day cooking Michael's favorite meals. Margaret cleaned the house carefully, placing fresh flowers on the table. But Michael seemed distracted. After dinner, he cleared his throat and said, "Dad, Mom, I think it's time you sell this house." Daniel looked surprised. "Sell the house?" Michael nodded. "Yes. You both are getting old. It's better if you move to a retirement facility. I can't take care of you. My life is too busy." Margaret's hands trembled slightly. Daniel remained silent for a long moment. Then he softly asked, "Son, do you want us to leave our home?" Michael avoided his eyes. "It's practical, Dad. Practical." That word stayed in Daniel's heart like a sharp stone. A few months later, Michael stopped visiting completely. Calls became rare. Daniel and Margaret were now alone, but Daniel never allowed bitterness to grow in his heart. Every morning he would wake up early, make tea for Margaret, and they would sit on the old wooden bench in their garden. That bench was special. Daniel had built it the day Michael turned 5 years old. Back then, little Michael used to climb onto it and tell his father stories about school. Now the bench was old, just like Daniel. One spring afternoon, while Daniel was repairing the bench, a small boy from the neighborhood approached him. "Sir, can you fix my toy truck?" the boy asked shyly. Daniel smiled. "Of course." Soon, other children started coming too. Broken toys, loose bicycle chains, cracked wooden chairs. Daniel fixed them all. Word slowly spread around the town that the old carpenter on Maple Street could repair almost anything. People began visiting more often. Children sat in the garden listening to Daniel's stories. Margaret would bring lemonade for everyone. For the first time in years, their house felt alive again. One day, a young woman named Sarah visited them. She was a social worker who helped elderly people. She had heard about the kind old couple. After talking with Daniel and Margaret, she said something that surprised them. "Mr. Carter, your workshop could help many young people who want to learn carpentry. Would you like to teach them?" Daniel looked at his old hands. They were wrinkled and rough from years of work, but they still knew how to create. Within months, Daniel's small backyard workshop turned into a place where teenagers from the town came to learn woodworking. Daniel taught them patiently how to measure wood, how to cut carefully, how to build something strong and meaningful, but more importantly, he taught them about life. "Build things that last," he would tell them. "Not just with wood, but with your actions." Margaret watched proudly as young people called Daniel Grandpa Carter. Years passed. The small workshop became famous in the town. Many of Daniel's students opened their own businesses or became skilled craftsmen. One autumn evening, Daniel sat on the old bench with Margaret, watching the sunset. Children were laughing in the yard. Students were working in the workshop. The house was full again. Margaret held Daniel's hand and said softly, "You gave your love to the wrong person once, but it returned to you through many others." Daniel smiled gently. "No," he said. "Love is never wasted." Just then, a car stopped in front of the house. A man stepped out. It was Michael. He looked older now, tired and ashamed. He slowly walked toward the bench. "Dad, Mom," his voice cracked. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." Daniel looked at him quietly. Michael continued, tears falling from his eyes. "I was chasing success, money, status, and I forgot the people who gave me everything." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Daniel slowly stood up and hugged his son. "Son," he said gently, "a door that was built with love never truly closes." Michael cried like a child in his father's arms. That evening, the family sat together again on the old wooden bench. And for the first time in many years, Daniel felt something deeper than happiness. Peace. Lesson from the story. This story teaches us that love, kindness, and patience are never wasted. Even when the people we care about hurt us, choosing compassion instead of bitterness can transform not only our lives, but the lives of many others. Parents sacrifice everything for their children, and forgetting that love is one of life's greatest tragedies. But forgiveness has the power to heal even the deepest wounds. True wealth is not money or success. True wealth is the love we give and the lives we touch.